The terror you have just seen was caused by science fiction. Everything else in this motion picture that you will see is science fact. The phenomena you are about to witness could well revolutionize your way of thinking. We are presenting startling facts and evidence that take up where other explanations leave off. Some of these revelations may very well go against things you have been taught and perhaps believed all your life. Prepare yourself for the evidence which will follow. The producers accept no responsibility for any mental trauma caused by the contents of this motion picture.
Bizarre.
Captured deep within a forest on a remotely activated nature camera, this mysterious ghostly figure was filmed crossing the woods. It appears to be a see-through glowing figure, moving much faster than a person would walk, but on close inspection does have the form of a human. Is this a simple camera trick, or is it evidence of a ghostly figure or demon in the woods?
Obviamente que no se trata de dron, ya por el tamaño que tiene, ¿no? No existe dron de ese tamaño. Miren cómo hace las luces. Se ve bastante cerca porque está, repito, con el zoom al máximo. Registro OVNI anoche, madrugada, en la ciudad de Punta del Este, Maldonado, Uruguay. Muy buen registro, por cierto. Continúan los avistamientos de OVNI en Uruguay. En esta oportunidad en Maldonado. Han habido en Canelones, Montevideo, San José, Florida, Paysandú, Tacuarembó, Salto. Ahí se alejó. Ahí lo trae el zoom para que vean a la distancia que está el objeto, ¿no? Buen acercamiento. Impresionante registro OVNI.
Documented contact cases in history. At first, the sightings began occurring at some distance from his home, but it wasn't long before the craft began appearing over his backyard. This amazing video footage shows a glowing disc approximately 9 feet in diameter hovering just feet from his house. In a blink of an eye, the craft disappears, Once the footage is slowed down, we can clearly see the craft dematerialized frame by frame. Adrienne's contact case took place over a period of several years and was never reported to the authorities for fear of ridicule and reprisals. Among the numerous hours of footage taken, this sighting remains one of the most dramatic. It began at 10:03 p.m. on October the 20th, 1995, and took place over a 50-minute period. The encounter ended with Adrienne following the craft at high speeds down the freeway. Here we see the craft minutes after the sighting begins. This extraordinary footage has never been broadcast and is being shown here for the first time. Clearly, we can see the craft hovering silently over the homes below. These large crafts are commonly referred to as beam ships, or in some cases, motherships. They gained their reputation by their reported immense size and softly glowing light emitted by the craft's operation. Approximately 38 minutes into the sighting, the ship began hovering away from his house. He followed the craft in his car and stopped along the freeway to film it hovering near an apartment complex. Minutes later, the craft flew directly over Miami's International Airport, where it hovered momentarily. The ship then flew into a residential area and accelerated out of sight. As the craft emerged from a wooded field, he was able to continue videotaping, but it wasn't long before it began accelerating again. While pacing it at over 50 miles an hour, it flew off out of sight. This slow-motion enhancement clearly shows the craft as it's speeding along the shoreline. To this day,
why does the Ethiopian Bible recount the creation of the world in periods of 49 years rather than the mainstream 6-day creation narrative? The Ethiopian Bible uses a unique system of timekeeping. Instead of the mainstream biblical timeline, the Book of Jubilees measures history in periods of 49 years. For example, the covenant between God and Abraham was established in the 20th Jubilee, and the Exodus took place in the 50th. But it gets even crazier. The Book of Jubilees provides exact dates for key events like the births and lifespans of significant biblical figures, all fitting perfectly within these 49-year cycles. This level of precision challenges the traditional, often vague timelines we know and suggests a highly sophisticated understanding of time by ancient scribes. The concept of Jubilees implies that time itself is a divine cycle, with each 49-year period marking a complete renewal. This idea reflects ancient beliefs that history repeats in patterns, but there's more. The Book of Jubilees also hints that these 49-year cycles are influenced by the stars and planets aligning with ancient astrology. This all suggests that everything in history happened and will happen in patterns of 49 years. It is like our realm might have been meticulously planned or manipulated by divine forces.
Listening to the hour of the time. I'm William Cooper. We're going to be talking tonight about what we found on our trip to the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Driving across the desert of Nevada, approaching from the Boulder City Highway, looming off in the distance is an incredible sight. If you did not absolutely know where you were at, you would tend to believe that you were delirious and had somehow been transported to the desert of Egypt. Rising up above the city of Las Vegas is a black, reflecting, huge pyramid, easily as big as the Great Pyramid of Cheops in Egypt. On the top of this pyramid is a crystal capstone, or what appears or looks like crystal capstone, reflecting the sunlight in every direction. If you've ever looked at a polished piece of black obsidian volcanic glass, that might give you some idea of what the surface of this pyramid looks like. As you travel closer along the highway, you begin to see looming up in front of the pyramid an exact replica of the Sphinx. And in front of the Sphinx, towering approximately 150 feet in the air, the phallus of Osiris, an obelisk, for those of you who have not followed our series on the mysteries. And if you don't know what an obelisk is, I'm sure you're acquainted with the Washington Monument. The sight is absolutely awe-inspiring. The sheer size of this structure is overwhelming. It covers an area so large that driving around it, one begins to wonder how in the world this could have ever been built, much less built in the short period of time that it was, in fact, assembled. During the time that the Luxor Hotel was under construction, a huge fence surrounded the area. They had armed guards on patrol. No one was allowed to watch the construction or see what was going on, except that part which loomed above the fence. No visitors were allowed to watch the construction, and no press was given access. When we first drove to the Luxor, went around this huge, tremendous complex upon which this hotel sits, and then finally went across the street, parked the car, put our press passes on the front of our garments, got out with our video cameras. I looked directly across the street and was confronted with the head of Tutankhamun, who then promptly winked at me. Everything about this ninth wonder of the world, for it truly is, I can assure you, leaves one with a sense of awe, a sense of disbelief, overwhelming beauty. It is, in fact, beautiful beyond description. What I'm trying to do here is convey to you what I saw, and there are not words enough to do it. Now, if you've listened to our series on Mystery Babylon, you know that the Egyptian pyramids were never tombs. They were not burial places or crypts for the bodies of kings or queens or anyone else. They were temples, great temples of the mystery religion, and they functioned for the purpose of initiation. I can assure you that the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas is a temple of initiation for the masses, the millions upon millions of people who visit that city each year. Probably billions. Not just from America, but primarily from America, but also from around the world. For every single bit of symbolism connected with the mysteries is built into this hotel, beginning with the obelisk, which represents the generative force, the Sphinx, which is to remind mankind that he is, after all, only an animal, you can think, and therefore is always engaged in this constant battle between the animal and the intellect. And then the great temple of initiation, the pyramid, this one with capstone intact, crystalline in nature, representing, as the sun reflects and glints off of every faceted side of it, representing the all-seeing eye. To give you some idea of the size of this structure, inside the building on the ground floor, 9 Boeing 747s would fit comfortably with no crowding and no problem. 9 Boeing 747, and those are the huge passenger jets. 9. Inside the building there is an obelisk which begins at the lowest floor, which is below the ground floor actually. Begins on the lowest floor, comes up through the casino onto the upper deck and points directly at the center apex, the zenith of the pyramid, is another obelisk. It is an incredible sight.